Honey, a lot of hair. Okay, so sorry. So we just thank you, Jeremy. We're good. Okay. So thank you all for joining us today. We're really excited to be able to spend some time with you all. It looks like y'all have had an amazing conference. I'm not sure who's in our room, but I did want to say a big congratulations to all of the STEM designated schools. It's just such an honor to learn about you all and all of the journeys you've been on. So I just wanted to say on behalf of Define Learning, we're just really in admiration of all of you all down there doing all that great work. So thank you again for spending time with us today. My colleague, Lisa Wolf, is going to walk us through our resource called Defined Careers. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Defined Learning and just our partnership with the TSIN, and it's such an honor to call the TSIN our partner. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to do a quick introduction. I'm just going to share a little bit briefly about our partnership with Defined Learning, and then Lisa is going to share more and walk through a demonstration for you all on Defined Careers. So I will be also monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I will try to answer them. And also at the end, we'll have time for questions. So if you have questions along the way, just let us know. And we're just really happy and excited that you all are spending time with us today. So just as far as the agenda goes, again, I'm Aimee Tait. I'm the partnership manager for Tennessee, and I'm joined by my colleague, Lisa Wolf, and Lisa is the director of products. So I'm very excited to have Lisa share more with you around Defined Careers. Just briefly, just to kind of share, again, the history of our TSIN partnership. We are honored to be partners to be able to bring our content to grades 5 through 8 through all the middle schools throughout Tennessee. Our partnership does include access for grades 5 through 8 and also for modules of Tait content. And we're also really, really excited this year to be able to work with you all with some stream enrichment. And we're providing access to K-8 content and a teacher toolkit that the TSIN has put together, which is an amazing, amazing resource. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Lisa, to kind of share more about our new resource, which is in Defined Careers. So thank you all again, and I will look forward, like I said, I'll be monitoring the chat. If there's any questions, we'll be looking for it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aimee, and welcome everybody to the session. Thanks so much for tuning in. Like Aimee mentioned, I am the Director of Products here at Define Learning, and I wanted to start a little bit with, in case you're unfamiliar with Define Learning, I know you do have access in grades 5 through 8 to the Define Learning product, but just in case you haven't started using that or anything, I wanted to show you a little bit about what our company does. And right up on the screen is our mission. And the main thing is there in orange is that we really want to provide meaningful project-based learning that builds future-ready skills. And you're going to see that through Defined Careers that we're going to talk about today, but we also do that as well in Define Learning. You can kind of see all of those different areas where we're talking about problem solving, civic global engagement, creativity, critical thinking. All of those wonderful skills are what are going to be really highlighted across both of our products. So in particular, like I mentioned, we do have 2 different products. Define Learning is what we currently have a partnership in Tennessee with. That is our K through 12 offering that's really focused on standards-based learning, very still career supporting careers, and going to be project-based learning. And then today you're going to hear in that lower right corner all about Defined Careers, which is our career-based 5 through 12 offering. In both of our products, they're going to be project-based, real world, and also very engaging with performance tasks. And both of these have, and Aimee touched a little bit on it. You already have access to the Tait online module, but we have PD that also supports both of those services as well, with wraparound micro-credentials as well. So without further ado, let's actually dig right into Define Careers. So really excited to share this newest offering with you all in terms of what it is and how this is really going to help not only you, but also your students. There's really kind of a 4-step process that students will engage with when they start working in defined careers. The very first thing that they'll end up doing is discovering their interests. Students start by taking the Pathways Matching Assessment. And this is a three-part multidimensional assessment where we're asking them about their study preferences, their interests, as well as their values. And that multidimensional assessment is then triangulated, and we're able to match students up, just like the name implies, with 4 career pathways that are going to be a good fit for them. So once they take a look at these 4 pathways, although they have access to all 79 career pathways that are in defined careers, this is where they're going to be able to start to be exposed to different careers. We have, and I'll show you, we're going to spend the bulk of our time in the system actually taking a look at it. But they're going to be able to take a look at all of the different careers that are within a particular career pathway. One of the things that we say at Defined Learning is you can't be what you can't see. And one of the things that we're really trying to do at Defined Careers is open up students' eyes to all of the different opportunities that they have. So after they've taken a look at all the different careers that are within a particular pathway, then they're going to be able to explore a little bit more via the lens of a career course. And I'm going to walk you through what a career course is once we get into the demo. But across each pathway, we have these 5 career courses, and this is where they're going to be able to take a much deeper dive in terms of looking at and learning about the cluster, the pathway, and then actually getting hands-on career experience, which is that very last line there, by actually creating products very relevant to that particular career. So a little bit more about the assessment itself. Like I mentioned, we do have a multidimensional assessment that students start with when they start with their defined careers journey. They start by learning about their academic study preferences, where we're learning about what it is that students like to study in school versus those different subjects that perhaps they don't like studying as much. And we're able to get a nice ranking of these different areas. Then they're able to dig into an interest inventory. We've got 60 different questions here, really activities that we're asking them, would you like to do this? And they're ranging all from artistic all the way down to social, those different areas of interest. Then finally, we end with the values inventory. This is where we're really trying to get a good feel for what it is that's most important to students, whether it's achievement or recognition or working conditions. What are the different things that are really going to be most important to those students? The results of those 3 parts are then triangulated, which is going to provide great data for not only the student, because we're going to be able to recommend 4 pathways for them to kind of start to explore, but it's also going to be great information for their teachers, their counselors, their parents, their whole support system, who sometimes don't have access to all of those different things to really help them foster those conversations about the future. So a little bit about why defined careers. So like I mentioned before, the whole purpose of this is really to level the playing field for all students. You can't be what you can't see. And so we're really trying to open students' eyes in terms of letting them know all of the different careers that are out there for them. So it's also very accessible. So regardless of where students are, I know, from my personal experience, I'm from a very small town. My mom was a math teacher. My dad was a farmer. Those were kind of the things that I knew. And I became a math teacher then because that's what I was exposed to. And so which was great. And I loved my teaching experience. But it was really nice when I started digging into defined careers that these would have been nice things to know about to open my eyes to what are all the other opportunities that are out there. So really making a lot of careers accessible for students. We have over 450 careers for them to actually explore through the lens of that career course. It's very flexible. Everything that you're going to see in defined careers, it's all available online through a browser. That's all you need is an internet connection in a browser. So making it perfect for synchronous, asynchronous learning, whether it's in person, remote, or hybrid, works for any of those different models. And then finally, because it is project-based learning, it's also going to help all of those 21st century skills, SEL skills, really help them through that grit, that creativity, problem solving, all of those good skills that we really want to, students to, we said we really want to be building those future ready skills for students. So you maybe have already started to use defined learning as a result of the statewide partnership in grades 5 through 8. So just in case you're familiar already with defined learning, I want to show you a little bit about how these two can work together. Typically defined learning, which is more the core academic courses, it's used really in those particular courses. Now, defined careers, these are all the different places that we've heard for defined careers where it's being used. And we know that people are going to keep thinking of different ways for this to be used as well. But some are saying we want to use this with all of as a counselor, with all of our students to help them think about their future and where they want to go and what their career choices are going to be to help them with advising. And then also advisory and homeroom periods. We have an adoption and in Oklahoma, and they're using it in all grades 5 through 12 in their advisory periods. It's been really popular in CTE courses as well, to really dig in and get that project-based learning in those particular CTE pathways. It's also been a huge hit in college career readiness or exploration courses. For sometimes those are different courses set just for that. And then finally, both of these products have been really popular in either after-school programs or STEM programs. And I know this is the STEM Innovation Network, so that both of these are going to be really, really a good fit for any type of a STEM program too, because you're going to see there's tons of different STEM careers that are featured within Defined Careers. Now, in terms of accommodations, and I'll really just demonstrate these once we get into the system, but lots of really great features, because in addition to making all the careers accessible to students, we wanted to make sure that, of course, the system itself was actually accessible to students. So lots of really wonderful text-to-speech, translation tools, a lot of other things that I'll just kind of show you once we get in there. So I'm going to show you just 3 sample items from the test, from the assessment that they start with, because that's always going to be the first thing that that students can do. Although there is an option to bypass it, but this is always just a really great tool to kind of get students started within the system. So unless the bypass is not turned off, they will always start with that assessment, and that's going to unlock the whole student dashboard. So like I mentioned, there's 3 parts to that particular assessment. The very first one is the study preferences. So you can kind of see we've got 7 buckets here of kind of topics in terms of what it is that students are studying. All of these they can hover over. Right here you can see I was hovered over math when this screenshot was taken. It'll give examples of those different courses that students are taking. We're asking them to say, what's your most desired out of this list of things to study? And what's your least desired? Like I said, I was actually a high school math teacher for several years, so that would have been my most desired. Then I could choose the least desired, and then I would click this next question. And then each time it's narrowing down that list to make it a really kind of straightforward, easy way to help students narrow down that list and rank those different areas. Now, the second part is going to be the interest inventory. So if you think back a few slides ago, there were 6 different areas that we're looking at: artistic and realistic, all of those different things, investigative. We've got 10 different activities to each one of those different items. So what we're asking them to do is simply just place a check in these boxes next to different areas that they might be interested in doing. We're wanting them to think, don't even think about how much education or training it's going to take. Don't even think about how much money it is that you would make. It's really just to gauge their interest in these types of things. They're going to be able to see, do they like hands-on things? Do they want to be helping people? Really just what it is that their interests are. And then lastly, we end with that values inventory. So this is where we're really trying to get a feel for what it is that's most important to students. So you'll see we've got these 3 blue dots. These are calling them tokens. What we're asking students to do is to weight these 2 statements based on what it is that's most important to them. So do they want to do the best they can on their schoolwork, or do they want to be able to work on their schoolwork by themselves? And they can start assigning these 3 blue dots out. So I'm going to say, okay, well, I do want to do the best I can, but I also do like to work by myself. And then ultimately I'd have to decide where that third one goes. So it's always going to be a 2 and a 1 or a 3 and a 0. And that's going to help us think through those other 6 values that we're really trying to weight through Defined Careers and through the values inventory. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and actually dig into the system. So after they've taken the assessment, this is where you'll actually see the results as well as the pathways that are going to be presented to the students. So right here, you'll see I'm on the actual dashboard of Defined Careers. I'm going to walk you through what a career course here is in a second. I'm going to scroll down. So here's the assessment. I just walked you through all 3 of those different parts of the assessment, and that assessment is there to be taken whenever students want. So it is available on demand and it's untimed, typically 15 to 20 minutes. And if they want to take it maybe once every year, or maybe a beginning of the year, end of the year, because we do know interest change, or sometimes they think they like, doing something and then they realize they really didn't. That's always there for them to take and to help fine tune recommendations. But I'm going to go right into my assessment recommendations and the results. So once we've taken the assessment, you can kind of see that was the last screenshot I showed you. We can click on show results, and this is where you're going to see the results of the assessment. So right here, we've got the interest inventory and just how it looks. The longer the bar, the stronger the interest in those different areas. And those are the ones that we saw earlier. And these are all based off of ONET. You can kind of see, what would be the strengths and what were the things that were really most of interest. You're going to see the values inventory looks very much the same. Again, the longer the bar, the stronger the value in that particular area, ranging from achievement down to working conditions. And then the very last one that I have up here is going to be the study preferences. So here's where you can see all of those different areas and kind of how they ranked from top to bottom. Now, here's the part that I like really the most once we dig into defined careers. And this is where we're really going to start to recommend those pathways for students. So defined careers is based off of, it's really structured around the National Career Clusters framework with 16 career clusters. All 16 are being featured here, and all 79 career pathways across those 16 clusters. And then we've got 5 career courses within each one of those different pathways. So these were my top 4 that came through after I took the assessment. You can see teaching and training was actually first, which was spot on since I did that for several years. Then it was funny because when design construction came up, I was like, what's going on there? I never would have thought of that for myself. And then a friend was like, you do watch HGTV quite a bit on the weekends. I'm like, you're right. I do really like design shows. So sometimes it's things that you would not even think might pop up, but it kind of showed through in that particular assessment. And then, engineering and technology, like I said, I had a degree in mathematics, and then securities and investments, part of the finance cluster, also going to have some math related there too. So we've got these 4 pathways that I can start to explore. So I'm going to show you the teaching and training pathway first. So after I select this, we're going to break down those pathways by the number of years of training and all of the different careers that are broken down across those different job zones. So you can see in less than 1 year of training, we've only got 1 career here, but they can start to take a look at what that might look like. We've just got some basic information in terms of what it is that they do, their salary, as well as the projected job growth there too. Then we can take a look at 1 to 3 years. So we can go all across these, and I can even expand this. Start to see, and this is where that career exposure comes in. We're really starting to show students what all is possible within that particular career pathway and the careers that are in there. So, and like I mentioned, across every pathway, there's going to be 5 of these where there's actually going to be a career course, and I'm going to walk you through that. But then kind of walking through the rest of it, we've got 4 years of training and then 5+ years. So each pathway is a little bit different. If I was to go into the design one, you'll see this one only has the 1 to 3 and the 4 years. So each pathway is a little bit different depending on the careers that are within that particular pathway. Now I'm going to go back to the dashboard here. And so I've shown you kind of everything that's on the dashboard, and I'm going to walk you through one of these career courses. And I'm going to show you what the only thing I haven't shown you is the portfolio. And I'm going to get to that in a little bit because that is a feature too that is going to be able to showcase all of the products that students are creating. But I'm going to walk you through it. You've heard me say career course a number of times already. So I want to walk you through what a career course within defined careers looks like. So each course is set up using the same set of structured lessons. And each course, and when I say a career course, think of that as that's the actual career. So when I say there's 450 career courses, that means we are looking at over 450 careers within defined careers. So right now I'm looking at sales engineers as the actual career that we're looking at. So each one of these career courses is set up using the exact same structure. Where lesson 1, they're going to learn about that one of those 16 career clusters that they're in. Then they're going to narrow it down a little bit, and we're going to look at the pathway. And then lesson 3 is really the heart of the career course, where they're actually getting that hands-on experience through PBL. The career deep dive helps fill in any holes for any research that they maybe might have missed in lesson 3, as well as think through some next steps. And then we always end getting their feedback on a career review survey of what did they think about this career course. So if we get into lesson 1 here, we're going to take a look at the career cluster. And you can see it's very easy for students to manage, and we've tried to make it very engaging for students as well as they're walking through these lessons. So I'm going to click through. It's basically like a slideshow of how this will look. So right here, we've got these, we introduced them with a video about the cluster. So they're going to learn about the marketing, sales, and service cluster overview. Then we provide a nice summary for students so they can take a look at, just kind of what the careers are, what different coursework that they might have to take, as well as the skills and interests of folks who are within that particular career. And then we have next steps for them. So all along the way, we want students to be reflecting and learning about, what it is that they're actually learning in that particular career cluster. So down here, we've got just two questions here. What do you like best about the careers and work done within this career cluster? Right here, promoting products and working with customers. Would you consider this career cluster a match for your interests and skills? Why or why not? And then the students can answer. And all of these are then available to the educator on their side of the Define Careers portal. So if we go into lesson 2, you're going to see that this looks just like lesson 1. It's going to be set up using the same exact structure where they're going to be able to be introduced to the career pathway that they're in. So right now we're in the professional sales pathway. They are introduced with a video, just like they were with career clusters. So now they're learning a little bit more about that particular pathway that they're in. We provide that review to kind of summarize all the things that they had just learned within that particular video, of occupations that they have involved in there, different education requirements, as well as kind of some job details. And then lastly, the next steps, which are going to be the same as what they were for Define Careers, just a couple different questions. Now we've got, some more reflection questions about specific to the pathway where the students can reflect on that and then submit that to their educator. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit more time here in lesson 3. So another thing related to Define Learning as our company is that we're, like we mentioned earlier, very focused on project-based learning. And in particular, we use the Understanding by Design framework by Wiggins and McTighe. So you're going to notice once I go through this particular project that we are using the GRASP model. And of course, we have to use an acronym because it is education. So we're going to be introducing students to the goal, the role, the audience, the situation, and then there's going to be 2 products that they have to create. So GRASP is going to be that acronym that we want to remember. So we're going to introduce them to all of those situations, the goal, role, audience, and situation. And like I said, there's going to be a couple products here that I'm going to show you in a second. But I want to show you this video here. So I'm going to make this a little bigger for you. Let me go ahead and play this. And while we're in here, I'm also just going to quickly demonstrate a couple of closed captioning features too, although I'll keep them off most of the time.
In this task, your goal is to sell cloud monitoring software by using your know-how and technical experience. Your role will be the sales engineer at Dynatrace, and your role is to create new opportunities to promote entrepreneurship in your community. Your audience will be your colleagues, community members, and company executives from Dynatrace. And your situation? Well, in March 2020, 2 Dynatrace sales engineers from Chicago, Dave Barron and Josh Wood, collaborated on a 3D printing project to protect their local frontline professionals from COVID-19. They made over 600 face shield kits for hospitals, nursing homes, and prisons. And they used their skills as engineers and salesmen to begin this business, which now boasts grassroots teams across the world who are working together to provide important PPE, or personal protective equipment, to workers everywhere. And although their career with Dynatrace is still their #1 priority, they're excited to be able to take their skills and inspire others to help their community. So your career will start as part of Dynatrace's corporate responsibility team, which develops programs to promote entrepreneurship and will include working with artificial intelligence, 3D printing, and developing new programming for their corporate responsibility department.
Okay, so you were able to kind of see how we're introducing this to students through the, a real life situation here of something that really did happen. They're probably all very well of PPE and COVID and all of that, and kind of seeing this in through a real life situation. So that was the goal, role, audience, and situation. All of these tasks are being written at a middle school grade level, but there's always going to be terms that, because it's so job specific, maybe ones that they've never heard of before, or it might be slightly above their reading level. So we always want to provide vocabulary, because the whole purpose of Define Careers is really to help them learn about the career. So we're introducing them to all of these different vocabulary terms that might be new to them. Then we also want to provide them with vetted research links too. They're certainly welcome to do as much research on their own as they'd like to help them with their products, but we want to provide a couple of them to help them get started. And then finally, Each career course has 2 different products that they're going to be able to create. And we have that product choice there because teachers can choose how they want to implement these, whether they have that student choose which one that they want to do, or whether they want to have them do them both and they choose which one they do first, completely up to the educator on how they want to allow that student to have that voice and choice in there. But you're going to see there's 2 different ways that we're going to provide for students to have that opportunity to have that career experience. The first one, we've got 3D printing designs where they use a 3D design and development software to help create their own PPE device. And then they've got a sales engineering presentation. So this is where they have to be able to know what they sell, what they know, and they're going to design their own object out of recycled materials and then market that item. So we give a little bit more information on each one of these particular products. I do want to mention that here, they're creating their own PPE device and they want to create their own designs. We're encouraging them to do something, with a free design program. There's no additional things that are needed to be purchased. Everything that's going to be created throughout Define Careers can usually be built out of, if they have a 3D printer, great, they can print it, so can use it with stuff that maybe your school already has. And if not, they can build it out of household materials. So lots of different options here. And then they're going to create their own instructional manual to explain their process for others to replicate their work. For product 2, this is going to be, again, very relevant to this particular career. They're going to design an object, again, out of recycled materials and then market that item. They want to, their inspiration is going to be the United Nations Sustainability Goals. And then they're going to choose one of those goals, design a prototype, you create a sales plan, and then a short 30-second video to sell that particular product. So 2 different products, but both very much related back to that particular career. We do help students in case they're new to project-based learning with the design process. So, whether it's, doing the brainstorming, how they're going to go about this. And then, there's going to take multiple revisions and different things to checking in. A good thing to always remind students is, Formula 409. The reason why it's called that is because it took 409 tries for them to get that formula just right. So we're helping students kind of think through that particular design process. And then lastly, their next steps. So this is where they're going to be able to actually do the work, submit their product right within the system. And then like I held off on showing you what the portfolio was earlier because now's the first time that we're going to actually see where this might come through. Every product that a student uploads, so not the check-in questions, but any product that they create, they can upload this and it'll become part of their portfolio. We do have the rubric right here for that, for an educator as well, but we've got the student, in case this is the rubric that you would like to use, it's already pre-built, looking at the pathway, the goal, the role, and the overall job product quality. And you can see I've already submitted one. And then here we've got the assignment here too for the second product. That rubric is going to be the same for all of the different products that they submit. We've also got different support pieces there too. The last thing in this lesson is still continuing with those reflection questions and looking at checking in, how do the products relate to the responsibilities of people employed in this career and what knowledge and skills are required to work in this particular career. So lesson 4, like I said, this is called the Career Deep Dive, and this is where we're kind of helping students fill in any particular gaps that maybe they didn't quite get from their research in lesson 3, and to kind of help make sure that they have a solid understanding of this particular career. So we start off with a career video for them to kind of, again, fill in any gaps that they might not have heard of and seen when they were creating their products. Then we also provide that overview of that particular career that's going to include the salary. Then we're going to provide, like I said, it's in addition to a deep dive, it's also providing some ideas for next steps for students. So if they want to actually learn a little bit more about that career and then say, I do want to actually pursue this, where can I go to college? Or, where can I go for post-secondary education? We've got View Local College programs. So I'm based in the Denver, Colorado area. So it's starting off by giving me ones kind of close to me, but we've got the college type and size. You can start to filter it down. Or if you want to look through, if they do want to go out of state, if there was a different area that they wanted to go to, they can certainly click on any state and check on the programs there too. But we're trying to help them narrow down that search. And then the very last part of lesson 4, to kind of continuing on with those next steps where they've thought about, they've already kind of seen what the salary is going to be. They've kind of thought through some post-secondary education options. Now we're going to have them create a personal budget, because we know that personal finance literacy is incredibly important. So we've got templates, and a lot of students really haven't thought through what a budget's going to look like. But we've got a link to a template, and this is going to help students think through what their monthly expenses are going to be. If they've thought through what their post-secondary plan might be, they might have an idea of what their student loans could be. And then they've got that salary too that's specific to that job. So it's going to really help them think through what a budget it would be if they were to pursue that career. They would be able to upload that right into the system. That's also going to become part of their portfolio. We've got the same rubric right there for them to take a look at. Lesson 5 is the survey, which I've already taken. So I'll show you that in one other place here. So we've gone through the dashboard. I wanted to show you the courses really quickly, and then I'm going to show you the portfolio. Then I'm going to open up for questions, because I know we've only got about 15 minutes left here, and I want to make sure that everybody gets their questions answered. But like I mentioned, we do provide students those 4 pathways for them to take a look at. And that's really to help them get started. We want this to really be a personalized experience for students. Now, I did mention earlier that a lot of schools are actually starting to use this in their CTE programs as well. And some are saying, well, what if we want to have all students working on the same project at the same time? Teachers can assign it out like that. So that's another thing on the educator side of Defined Careers. If you do want to assign a course out to either an individual student or a whole class and have everybody working on the same course at the same time, that's also an option. But students also have the option to search for their own courses too. So these are all of the ones that I was already enrolled in as a student. We've got that current career courses. Next in the courses tab, we've got the recommended career courses. So this is based off of the assessment that they took, which we already saw, the interests, the values, and the study preferences, as well as the survey results. So at the very end of that course, there was that lesson 5, and I said, well, I've actually already taken it, so I couldn't show it to you. But we're going to customize this for them and show them some good course recommendations. But down here is where we have all career courses. So like I mentioned, we've got over 450 career courses within Defined Careers. These blue ones are ones that I'm already enrolled in. All of the gray ones are ones that I'm not. So there's a couple of different ways to search through these courses. We've got the filters, and we've got the 16 career clusters right here. So you can search just by cluster. We can also expand this. You can see all of the different career pathways within each particular career cluster. So if I wanted to search in just, for example, 3 particular career pathways, just hit apply. And then we'll have all of the career courses within that particular career, those career pathways. I'm going to reset that. The other way to find courses is to do a search. Now, I always recommend to keep this broad. Sometimes people search for a very specific course name, and we might have that course, but we might call it something slightly different. So the more specific you get, the less likely you are to be able to find something, even though we might actually have it. We used all of the names that were in ONET, was kind of our driving source. But for example, if I just do something more broad and do engineers, this will show all of the different courses that have engineers in it. Oops, and I spelled that wrong. So just a prime example of how important spelling is right there. So here we go. We've got all of the different ones with the engineers in it. So that's going to be showing up. So just wanted to show you that's another way to find all of the different courses. Really quickly here to wrap up, when I was going through the course, I mentioned we've got these products that students are uploading. We've got the 2 in lesson 3, those 2 that are specific to the product, the career course itself. Then we've also got the personal budget there in lesson 4. So here you can see the portfolio is made up of 2 different parts. We've got the project showcase, and this is where it showcases all of the work that a student has uploaded there. We've got, for example, personal budgets up here. We've got the different project here, assignment for 3D printing designs. And so these are all clickable. You can go right into the work, and they've got that showcase right there for everything that they've done so far. Then we have a customizable part. And so this is dependent upon the school or the district, whether they even want to include this feature. But a lot of schools we know have like a portrait of a graduate or graduate profile, or maybe there's a statewide initiative of things or graduation requirements. There's a lot of different ways that this could be used. This is an example of an actual school's graduate profile. This is actually LAUSD. They had just adopted this for all of their CTE teachers. And so what they had wanted was to take a look at their personal graduate profile. And this is where a student can do some self-reflecting, whether they've met this or not, and then have some conversation and a commenting feature with teachers. The very last thing here, looks like we've got about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure that people have time for questions. I want to show you the final report. So after a student has actually completed a whole career course, we've got, and actually as this will be a running final report as students continue to work through defined careers, this is just kind of a summary of where they're at within the particular system. So it's going to show exactly, the last time. It always has the most recent time that I took the assessment. And actually, since I highlighted that, I promised you I'd show you the accommodations features, and I will show you whenever I highlight something, this pops up. This will read aloud.
Congratulations, you've completed your career assessment and have explored and experienced various careers. This report is a summary of the work you have completed.
Sorry, let me pause that. You can also do translation through here as well. Lots of different languages. Say if we wanted to do Spanish, it will show this exact thing in Spanish. You can have that read aloud too. So I wanted to make sure, and since I said I was going to do that, wanted to make sure that it's got a lot of different, line focusing, lots of different accessibility tools right within that Read Speaker tool. But this will always show the most recent time a student took the assessment. We've already gone through the results, but it will have all of those right there. It's got the 4 recommended pathways. And then this is that post-course survey, that lesson 5, where we're asking students, it's just 6 quick questions. What did you think about this course? What did you think about the topic? Would you recommend this? And that's where how we're able to help recommend different careers to students. And then we've got 5 different recommendations for those courses too. So we've got that in the courses tab as well as in the final report. So the only other thing that I'll mention here, we've got the dashboard, the courses, the portfolio, the final report. We've looked at all of those as the messages. So there's lots of different ways for students to be able to communicate directly with their teachers, whether it's based on the particular career lessons that were in those courses. For example, this was an example of the educator had written back to the student based on one of their responses for that career cluster check-in question. Or they can communicate just about general different questions, where if the student sent in a question, do you have time for me to come in? Yes. So lots of different ways, and maybe you want to have them use your LMS, lots of different ways, but wanted to show you that that is certainly an option there. So with that, I wanted to pause really quickly. Aimee, have there been any questions that have come in so far?
There are a couple of comments. I just want to say to Dr. Westby, thank you. He just said that this is going to be a game changer for his STEAM class. So we hope so too. And Miss Jackie Handsome had a question about the possibility of getting a walk to walk through the test ourselves. And so we absolutely will love for you all to have access to walk through the assessment yourselves and then experience the courses in defined careers. So yes, we will be following up with access to whomever would like to have it. So those are the only comments so far. If there's any other questions, we're happy to answer them now, or there's my email, and I will also be following up with, again, access, and we'd love for you to explore defined learning as well as defined careers. So thank you all just for spending the last little part of your afternoon with us, and thank you to Jeremy and the team down in Franklin, and just wanted to say thanks so much for spending time and going through the demo with us. So I think we're good. If Lisa, do you have any last comments?
I don't. No, I just put this up because, like Aimee already said, I put her email address up here. She's your local go-to Tennessee source, and she'll be happy to set anybody who wants a demo account. We can set you up. I didn't have enough time today to go through the educator side, but we're certainly happy to do another one of these demos for you individually, or your team as well. We can do both the educator and the student side, and happy to help. So thank you for all those great questions and the feedback.
Thank you, Lisa. So I think Jeremy probably takes us out of the room.